Well, hello everyone and welcome. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on your time zone there. Thank you for joining us for our installer training webinar, part 2, which covers the ECU and the EMA. We plan on covering a lot of good information today that will hopefully help you better understand the APsystems solution offering and more importantly, to be more successful in installing APsystems and also helping you simplify and streamline that installation process, reduce install time, and of course, save you money. I'm Jason Higginson. I'm the Senior Director of Marketing at APsystems. I've been with APsystems for 5.5 years now, and I've been in the solar industry for 10 years and in power technology for a lot longer than that. On the call with me this morning, we have Ryan Davies, our U.S. Head of Sales and Operations. He's also been with us for about 5.5 years and in solar for about as long. We also have Chris Barrett, our Senior Director of Technical Support, who's been with APsystems for close to 5 years. And before that, he was with SolarBridge, and he has extensive experience in semiconductor and power technology. We're all excited to be with you here today. We know that this is a strange and challenging time for many, and the fact that you would take time out of your day to spend time with us is a big deal, and we appreciate your presence here. So we have several other webinars available on our webinar page. You can visit our homepage or our training page and click the link there to get to our webinar page. One webinar I wanted to plug is what's happening next Tuesday, so Tuesday of next week, which is the 28th. It's called The 10 Critical Things Every Solar Installer Should Be Doing Right Now. That webinar is intended to be a helpful checklist of the key things all solar installers should be doing during the COVID crisis to both weather the current challenges and to prepare for what happens next. The webinar will include everything from training to tools, careers, and credits, as well as cover the government assistance programs for small businesses like those of many solar installers. Some quick housekeeping. Please use the chat box for any questions. We love your questions. We'd love to get to those. We will address those at the end of the webinar. We are going to provide a copy of this presentation after the webinar is concluded. We will mail that out to you, email that out to you, and the webinar is also being recorded, so we'll have a link to that so you can view that on our YouTube channel. And you will also receive a separate email with your NABCEP certificate for attending the training today, and that's specific to US installers. Real quick agenda. We're going to cover a little bit of about APsystems. We're going to cover product overview and benefits pretty briefly to recap on what we learned on Tuesday. We're going to go into some detail on the ECU-C and ECU-R. We're going to cover the ECU app and how to set up and configure those systems with that app. We're going to cover the EMA and the EMA app and do a live demo of that. And we'll review both the homeowner view, so what your customers would see, and then the installer view, which has significantly more controls. And then we'll also do an ECU prize drawing. So we're going to give away 3 ECU devices, the ECU-R, today to some lucky winners, and then we'll cover your questions at the end of the webinar. Quick company introduction. So APsystems is a global provider of microinverters and power conversion equipment for the solar industry. We started in 2010, so this year marks our 10th anniversary. We have 4 global business units. Our Seattle business unit is the business unit that covers the United States for us. We have a business unit in Lyon, France, which covers Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Our business unit in Jiaxing covers our Asia Pacific region, and then we have a business unit in Guadalajara, Mexico, which covers Mexico, Central and South America. We have additional sales offices in Cupertino, Sydney, Melbourne, Shanghai, and Rotterdam. We're the #2 solar microinverter supplier worldwide, according to GTM. We're the #1 multi-module microinverter supplier worldwide. We have actually close to 1 gigawatt installed worldwide and Now it's close to 2 million inverters installed. We sell into more than 80 countries with over 100,000 installations worldwide. And we're offered on some third-party AVLs, including Mosaic, SunGauge, Dividend, and Y-Green.
Great, thank you, Jason.
You bet.
Well,
Take it away,
hello,
Chris.
everybody. Thank you so much. And thanks everybody for joining. And like Jason said, it's difficult times right now, so I appreciate your time. We'll get into the meat of this right now. Two things I just wanted to talk about briefly was the residential and commercial solutions, microinverters themselves. So as we talked about before, grid-tied modules, grid-tied inverters. We're going to talk a little bit about the residential version first, which is the YC600 or the QS1, the gateways, and the online monitoring. As you can see right here, this is what I like to call simple solar. It includes the inverters, the gateways, and the online portal. As far as commercial solutions are concerned, we have what's called the YC1000. This is our true 3-phase 4-module grid-tied microinverter. This right here is used for mostly commercial environments where you're in a 208 Y or a 480 volt Y configuration. We're showing right here, demonstrating basically the 3 or 4 module configuration, depending on how many ports you use on the microinverter itself. But again, I want to show you that we have 3-legged stool: the inverter, the online portal, and then the gateway. Okay, let's dig in a bit. So as far as the available microinverter designs, what I'm looking at here is the YC600, which is a dual module. So one inverter here, one package. Think of this as 2 inverters in one package, which will serve 2 different solar modules. We have one input here, a second input here. As far as the QS1 is concerned, this is basically 4 inverters in a single package, serving up to 4 modules with 4 separate independent inputs. The YC1000 is our true 3-phase microinverter, 4 inputs. This is actually a commercial product where, like I said, 208 and 480. This is a single input, and this is what we consider like a micro string, if you will. Second part of the solution is the communication devices. This right here basically is the gateway between the internet, your online portal, and the inverters that are on the roof. We have 2 different versions of this product. One's called the ECU-R, and R originally was set up for residential, and the ECU-C originally designed for commercial. We're finding that these products are interchangeable from residential or commercial. I would say that 95% of our commercial installations incorporate the ECU to the ECU-R. But like it says right here, it's basic monitoring gateway. The ECU-C provides a little more advanced functions, which we can go into. And like I said, we have a class more detailed about this on the next Tuesday, I believe it is. One thing I do want to point out, though, is this is compatible with the 600, QS1, and 1000. So all of our inverter products can communicate to this device, the ECU-R, or to the ECU-C. So you have a single SKU for residential or commercial monitoring. As far as the configuration is concerned, again, simple solar. The ECU-R is designed to be put into someone's office, connected directly to the customer's router via the available Ethernet port on the back side of the device. Although we do offer Wi-Fi connectivity, should there be any configuration where you cannot place the device in the same room or adjacent to the customer's router. As far as simple is concerned, we have 2 power lights on the top. One here indicating that you've provided power to the device, and the second indicating that you have communication between the inverters and the gateway, and all that information is then being pushed up to the cloud. The ECU-C, as we discussed, this right here is more of advanced features. This is actually, like I said, originally designed for commercial applications. but we are seeing a fair amount being used in home or residential environments where especially zero export configurations are required. Somewhere where there's maybe not any battery for storage and you're not allowed to put anything back onto the grid. Basically, like I said, we can actually use this in single phase or three phase. So in single phase, we would actually connect up to line 1, we would connect up to the neutral and up to the ground. But if we were in a three-phase environment, then we just add in to line 2 and line 3. As you can see, it is more of an industrial look and feel. This particular product would have to be installed outside at the box, at the junction panel for this PV coming in and near the main panel, because with this product, we're actually able to monitor production through the use of CTs on the device. We're also able to monitor consumption through the CTs, consumption of the home or business. Relay control is built into the device. This is providing the ability to do time of use sharing, turning on or off breakers depending on time of use, depending on production. Let's say, for example, you lived in California, you had issues with time of use, you didn't want to operate your air conditioner unless your system was producing enough power to compensate for the use of the air conditioner. We can actually turn that air conditioner on and off based on the production of the system. Again, network interface here, RS485 for the internet, but we also offer Wi-Fi connectivity should that be a requirement for your installations. And then here is Zigbee antenna. This is a communication protocol from the gateways to the inverter. As far as the setup is concerned, very simple. First thing is, guys, of course, ECU placement. We kind of touched on that a little bit. With the ECU-R, this right here is, like I said, more residential. What I would like to do is make sure that placement is somewhere in the house, in the business, adjacent to the router. Because one thing that we always talk about in this industry is reliability of the modules, reliability of the inverters. We never talk about the reliability of the internet connection. And this is one thing that we can really, really improve upon here, is with this wireless connectivity to the inverters, to the roof, this can be placed at the router, improving that reliability of the internet connection. Cabling and power up, like I said, with the ECU-R, it's a simple plug into the wall socket. Actually, I can demonstrate in a second. With the ECU-C, as I demonstrated here, it's actually hardwired to the mainline box. As far as setup is concerned, very, very simple, and we'll run through those slides in a moment. It's something called the ECU app, available both from Apple and the Google Play Store. With this app, you're able to do all the settings of those devices. You're able to do power factor. You're able to do power configurations and date and time. The other nice feature is, by the use of the app utilizes the camera in your phones to scan the microinverters. No longer do you need to actually type anything in. There's no chance of fat fingering. You're able to scan easily, scan once, and synchronize that data from your phone and push it down to the array, down to the ECU. People always ask, can I use the app to arrange the array layout? The answer is no. We had that feature built in, and we've actually removed it. Just because of the size of the real estate of a small screen mobile application, we actually now require you to do that via the AMA online. Much easier, better, cleaner, easier interface. And one of the things I really like about this product is the need or the ability to verify communication. This is a big one for me. This right here, this line right here, it incorporates making this from a toy into a tool. This particular device, along with the ECU app, provides the installer information right there at the beginning of the install. Basically, when you get on the site and start installing the product, before you even install the single inverter on the roof, you're going to be able to turn this device on, scan the serial numbers from that you're going to be installing that day through the ECU app, push them down into this device. And then during the day, that device, that ECU or that gateway is going to go and speak to the inverters. Even if they're not installed yet, they're going to say, are you there? Are you there? Are you there? As you're building the array, you're going to see the array come alive on your app. The nice thing about this, during the installation process, you don't need any internet whatsoever. So like I said, it couldn't be any more simple. As far as the ECUR is concerned, you plug it into the wall socket. It's that simple. You connect to Ethernet or Wi-Fi. Again, like I said, I emphasize the Ethernet just because from a reliability perspective, last thing you want to do is roll a truck to fix an internet connection. That's just crazy to me. To the router and then router to the internet. ECU-C, very similar, but like I said before, this is actually connects directly to the service panel itself. It's a hardwire connection via these lugs. Again, Wi-Fi should you need it or want it, but Ethernet is always the best solution just from a reliability perspective, to the router, to the internet. Talked about this before as well. Line 1, neutral and PA. This is for the single phase. So if you're looking at a single phase residential, all you would need to do is connect up these 3 lines: ground, the line, and the neutral. For 3-phase, obviously, we want to monitor all the different lines. We want to monitor line 1, line 2, line 3 voltages, neutral, and ground. This just demonstrates the installation of the CTs. This is the way that we're able to then monitor the production from the roof, coming down from the solar panels through the junction box into the main. We're also able to monitor the consumption of the home or business. Installation, very, very simple again. These CTs are orientation specific, so they can be reversed via software. Should they be installed backwards or installed incorrectly. As far as the connections are concerned, as again, you have a production side, you have a consumption side. And you have enough for a single or 3-phase applications. So for a typical single-phase system, you would actually utilize these for production and consumption. Three-phase, obviously, we're going to use all 6 ports on production and all on consumption. So metering is actually going to be very simple because now we're going to be able to monitor the production of the site. We're going to see what's going on throughout the day as an aggregate of everything that's on the site. We're also going to be able to see the consumption from the grid and see usage. Like we talked about, very simple. Again, the preferred method is Ethernet cable to the router. And that again, like I said, it's not required, but it's definitely recommended from a reliability perspective. The other option, obviously, is again, connected through the wireless router or through a Wi-Fi. Will work just fine at all, but again, I wanted to emphasize with the advent of the Zigbee communication to the inverters and the ability to plug that device directly into the customer's router, we at APsystems have reduced our phone call volume by 50%. We're not calling in about internet connections anymore. So if you have the ability to hardwire, it is always the best. Okay, so let's dig into the ECU configuration through the ECU app. Again, this particular product is what I like to consider a tool, not a toy. This gives the installer the ability to have information right in the hand throughout the day. The nice thing about this app as well, everyone on the crew can have it on their phones. It does not require a password to get into the main system. It requires a password for you to enter into the ECU, but other than that, everyone on your team can see the same thing. And the nice thing about the ECU app is you're able to see or diagnose issues. Let's say, for example, you're building the array and you have missed a DC connection. You're going to find that DC connection issue at 9 o'clock in the morning and not 6 o'clock at night when you're packing up the truck. As far as ECU is concerned, we have two different versions, as we know, ECUR and ECU-C. Serial numbers will start with a 215 or 216, depending on the version that you choose. Again, just want to emphasize again, this works for all of our products. So the same communication protocol, depending on which one you choose. And one thing I want to emphasize is 12-digit number. So the 12-digit or serial number is on the back side of the ECU or on the front side of the ECU-C. And it will look something just like this. Inverters, exact same thing. So the inverters are, again, 12-digit IDs located on the label in the front of the ECU case. I want to mention something here. So on the ECU itself, you'll see this number. This is our, I'm sorry, on the inverter. There's 3 different locations where the serial numbers are located. We have 2 peelable, removable stickers here for you, the installer, to be able to build the map for your system. I also have one permanently etched in the device here, and I also have a 3rd one on the edge of this device here that is permanently meshed. So we have 2 that are permanent and 2 that are removable. As far as serial numbers are concerned, 503 or 504, this is the prefix for the 1000, 407 or 409 for the 600, and 802 for the QS1. Distinctly different. Okay, so as far as the app is concerned, ECUAPP, this is available on the Play Store and or Android, sorry, it's iOS or Android stores. Again, APsystems ECU app. You can scan these particular QR codes. You can go to our website, or you can just go to the Play Store directly. Again, the whole point of the smartphone application is to be able to take your smartphone and connect directly to the device via Wi-Fi, simplifying the installation. So making the connection. Once you have the application downloaded, download it to your device and don't even open it at that point. What I want you to do, and need you to do, is basically on the device itself, you're going to see on your mobile phone, you're going to go to your Wi-Fi settings on your phone. And you're going to look for all the available Wi-Fis that are in your area. And basically, you're going to look for one that says ECUR underscore, and you can see right here. For the ECUR, it's ECUR underscore. For the ECU-C, it's ECU-Wi-Fi underscore. And then the serial number of that device. So you know which device you were connecting to. So basically, you're thinking of it as like kind of a hotspot, if you will. Once connected, it's going to ask for the password. So the ECUR has a password. This password is the same on all of our devices. This gets your mobile phone connected to the ECU's hotspot. Basically, it's its own router. And you type in 88 and then hit connect.
Hey, Chris, something that I just want to emphasize that you said earlier is while this acts like a hotspot that you can connect your phone to, it is not yet connected to the internet. So during this entire process, starting out when you're first connecting to the ECU, it is not connected to the internet. It is simply broadcasting its own Wi-Fi signal for your phone to communicate directly with it. You would later then, Chris will walk you through the steps on connecting this device then to the homeowner's router.
Yes. Thank you, Jason. As Jason was saying, we hear now, once we hit the 888s and hit connect, we're going to see ECUR. This is the network that we are now connected to. It's going to say that we are connected, but it's also going to say no internet. Because like Jason just said, we are now just making a wireless connection between your phone and that gateway, that ECU gateway. But again, the hotspot does not provide any internet. It is simply a wireless connection between the two devices. Once your phone is connected via Wi-Fi to the ECU, then you're going to go in and open up the ECU app on your smartphone. Once connected, you're going to see here, get a green dot, and it's going to say ECU connected. You're going to know at that point that your mobile phone is connected properly through the Wi-Fi, the application is now then talking to the ECU that's in front of you. With this ECU communicating, you're going to be able to see the serial number of the device. You're going to be able to see the firmware version of that device. With a brand new ECU, it's going to say just like this, 0/0. That means 0 inverters talking out of 0 inverters installed. And we're going to go through the installation process here in a second. 0 kilowatts generated today because it's a brand new unit. And then lifetime energy, this should be 0.0 for lifetime as well. First thing you want to do when you get to site and you get this thing going, you're going to go to the date and time section under the settings tab. You can see there's 3 tabs here: home, data, and settings. Under the settings tab, you're going to be able to come down here. You can actually manually enter the time, or just simply click on sync phone time. So your phone is going to sync the time and date onto the device. Just that simple. One press and you're complete. The next step, and like I was saying before, we haven't even installed any inverters on the roof yet. We can get this thing pre-configured before you even put the first inverter onto the roof. So under the settings tab, we're going to go under ID management. Under ID management, you see here, we're going to go to the scan function. This scan function is going to pop up. And it's going to say, it's going to use your camera on your phone. You're going to allow your camera, you allow this application to utilize your camera to open up a scan window. You see the scan window here. Opens up, and there's a bar right in the middle of the scan window. Align that bar with the barcode on each of the inverters that you're going to install on that roof. It's going to add those numbers to the list of available devices to talk to. As you can see here, we scanned in 2 serial numbers. We scanned in this number and this number. One thing I want you to really clearly see here is this number right here is scanned from, we used the scan feature. We scan these 2 numbers in. We're about to go and add these 2. So right now, when you scanned in, let me clear this real quick so we can see this clearly. These 2 numbers are located here, and they're both colored black. So the color of the numbers means something. So this here means that the numbers have been scanned from the inverters. They're sitting on your mobile phone, but they have not been pushed down to the ECU. What we're going to do now is we're going to go down here to sync. We're going to click on sync, and I'll show you the difference here. When I click on sync, as soon as we hit sync, it's going to say, do you want to replace these ECUs, these numbers? You say yes. You click OK, and as soon as you click OK, you can see now these numbers went from black to orange. Orange indicates to you that the inverter serial numbers are now pushed down to the ECU and inside the ECU. Another nice feature that we provide is grid profile. Depending on where you are in the country and depending on your jurisdiction, you may have different requirements for grid profiles. For example, under the settings tab again, you're going to see grid profile. Under grid profile, most cases, our products ship right here in this mode right here, US UL 1741 240 volt. That's the standard shipment. But let's say, for example, you live in California, or you live in a state that is under that UL 1741 SA. You would select this one right here. So it's nice that you the installer, have the ability to pick whatever grid profile you want. Like I said, just in this particular case, it's these 2. And then we also have a third, which is the 208Y configuration as well. All settable right there on site. Don't need internet. I can just push this command, and 5 minutes later, it will be set. But again, just want to make sure it's clear. If you ship in 240 mode, nothing to be done by the installer if it's just using 240 mode. Other than that, you would use the Rule 21 California. Once you select your grid profile, you're going to hit update. You're going to say you're going to just confirm. It's just a double check to make sure that you're correct. I want to use this for UL 1741 240. Click OK. And like I said, 5 minutes later, grid profile will be set up properly. Just that simple. This can all be done remotely as well, but it requires a command being sent to the cloud then actually delivering that message down to the ECU then executing it on the inverters, where if you're on site, this all happens in a 5-minute window. So now we'll go back to the home tab. We talked about a few seconds before. Now we're back here where it says 2 of 2. So the denominator, this second number here, is 2, means that there's 2 inverters that are currently in this ECU and trying to communicate to the ECU. The 2 in front indicate that there's 2 talking. So that means 2 talking out of 2 installed. So you want to see 2 of 2. If you see 1 of 2, that means 1 inverter is not talking. So 2 of 2, 4 of 4, whatever you have in here. So you want to see these numbers matching. The only time you won't see that is at nighttime, of course. Nighttime is going to say 0 of 2. But during the day, if it's producing and it's on, communicating, you'll see 2 of 2. You also see current power production. This gives you the ability to see what it's currently doing at any given time. Again, no internet required. This is all driven right from the devices, the app talking to the ECU directly to the inverters. Another nice feature under Settings tab, if you have any kind of communication issues right there on site, you can actually go to this thing called Inverter Signal Level. This is actually going to give you kind of a cell phone looking bar chart here to verify that you actually do have good communication to the devices. Of course, the more the better, but all you really need is a single bar to make the communication to the devices. But this will give you a good indicator of signal strength from the location where the inverter. As far as the data tab, so let's talk about the center tab here in a moment. What you're going to see, and on this page is very powerful as well, during the installation, you're going to see many different views of the modules. When the modules are first installed, you're going to see this right here, this gray colored module. This gray colored module will be sitting up in this region here, and it'll be showing that if the inverter is in the system, but not communicating to the ECU. As soon as you make the first connection, you're going to see these panels start turning green. And when they turn green, that means that you've had good connectivity. So it's actually communicating. The third level that we have is a green with a number, which you see up here, which means that you have the numbers are in the ECU, that the inverters are communicating, that there's AC applied, and has power production. So it's a really good visual. And like I said, this is all available to the installer on site, day of installation, no internet required whatsoever. Selecting any one of these modules is going to pop up a window to get you more information about that particular inverter or that channel on that inverter for that matter. Customers talk about, how do I get this thing connected to the internet? Again, this is a very simple plug and play. This LAN right here, make sure that obtain IP address automatically. This is our DHCP mode. If this is checked, which comes factory like this, you plug this in, it's going to get its own IP address right here. For example, if you look at this section, LAN section, and you see this number right here is not connected to the internet, does not have a good IP address. This is a router assigned IP address right here. This right here is the address shipping from the factory. That is the machine number. But like I said, in most cases, you connect that LAN wire from the back of the router to the ECU. This will get its IP address automatically. And one thing I do want to stress is there's no requirement for internet at this point. This is after the installation is done. I prefer that the installation happen, the ECU be set up during the day. The crew is monitoring the installation as they're building. And like I said, that's actually for troubleshooting while they're building to verify that all the DC connections have been made, the AC connections have been made properly, and that the inverters are producing power. I kind of look at that view back here. Let me go back just a slide just for, go back here, right here. I kind of view this slide as basically a report card for the installer for the day. This should be like a requirement. Look at boss. I've installed 2 inverters. I've got 4 panels on the roof. They're all in the ECU. They're all communicating. They have AC applied and they're producing power. So check mark. What I don't want to see is this one here, grade, and then the installers have to roll a truck to go back tomorrow to fix a problem they could have fixed today during the day of installation. WLAN. So this is again under the settings tab. WLAN gives you the ability to connect to the wireless network, so the Wi-Fi basically. Again, it's available to you. If I can't emphasize enough, the hardwire Ethernet port is there available to you for reliability. I recommend to use it, but in some cases I know it's impossible or it's really difficult to use. So the wireless is available to you, and this is where you would come. You click on WLAN, select here, it's going to open up a screen. And in the screen, it's going to look for available Wi-Fi networks to connect to and the signal strength. You select the network that you want to connect to. Enter the password for that, and then hit send. And then you'll see the connectivity. And you'll get a positive confirmation, ECU connected. So now the ECU now is then connected to the Wi-Fi connection. Talked about this a little bit earlier, but again, simplicity. Again, this is the name of the game. This right here, this green light right here, tells you that the ECU is powered. That's all it does. Electricity is applied to it, and it's up and booted up. The second light right here, it's sending data to the online portal. Basically, this device is talking to the inverters and talking to the internet. Same for the ECU-C. You just barely see it here, but we have power and we have communication. So final steps are pretty simple. Once everything is set up on site, like I said, there's no requirement for internet during the installation. After installation, I recommend taking that ECU, bringing it into the house, connecting it directly to the customer's router, and basically walking away. Then when you get back, you're going to set up a systems owner account back at your shop. So you're going to be able to create an account for your homeowner, give them a username and password. Connect ECU installed, right? The array configuration, that's going to happen back at your shop as well, where you're going to drag and drop modules, and I'm going to demonstrate that here in a moment. And then, like I said, give the customer their login information for their portal so they can see. Jason?
Yeah, so we have lots of resources available to you. I'd like to start out with the support page. That's the main landing page you get to under our resources tab that is primarily there for installer support. So check that out. It's got our 1, 2, 3 installation and setup, talking about our training and how to register for an account to be an APsystems installer so that you have an EMA account under which you can create your homeowner and site owner accounts. And you can monitor those as well. And then step 3, the installation itself. We have a contact form on that website, which is, and this is a question that we get quite often. So we have several different ways that you can contact our technical support team. I'm in marketing, and I receive a lot of the emails that come through the website on just our generic sales and generic info email inboxes, and we get just a wide variety of emails into that inbox, as well as a lot of spam in junk mail. So so if you want to contact our support team directly, please make sure that you are visiting our website support page and using the form that's on there. You can also email our support team directly. It's support.usa@apsystems.com. And it's connected to our trouble ticket system, so you immediately will be issued a case number for our team to follow up on. So encourage you to use that form on the website and that email. We also have our product documentation library, under which all of our data sheets, all of our manuals and quick start guides, and all of our product certifications are listed. So some great resources there for you. I'd also like to do a plug for our YouTube channel, which has quite a few installation videos and walkthroughs. It gives you some additional information that helps kind of round out your education on what APsystems, how to install our products, and for example, the QS1 and the YC600 used on the same trunk cable, and how to connect and cable those devices. We have, for example, a QS1 connection and cabling guide, and it walks you through some details on how to use those in tandem, how to use those devices with split cell modules and landscape and portrait, and yeah, has some good information on there. And that's just one of the videos, the many videos that we have available. So check out that YouTube site. Our training continues next week. We have on Tuesday, I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, the 10 critical things that all solar installers should be doing right now. Thursday of next week, we're going to be talking about using microinverters in commercial projects. And that's a great opportunity for those that are primarily residential installers. Our products are set up in a way where it's plug and play, and it can turn any residential installer easily into a commercial installer, as well as set up by a single installer, which is important now during the COVID crisis. So for any of those trainings, you can visit our website and click on the training link on our homepage, or you can click on the link on our training page. Both of them will take you to our webinar page.
Perfect. Thank you, Jason.
You bet.
All right, everybody, I'm going to take just about 1 minute. I'm going to switch over from this to the live demo. So just bear with me for 1 second while I switch over. Okay, I am back. I'm here right now, and I'm going to demonstrate basically the power of the EMA or online portal. I'm going to show you 2 different versions of the portal. I'm going to first start off with the homeowner version of that portal, so you can see what the homeowner gets to see. Homeowner would be given basically a username and password. They come to the exact same portal, but based on their username and password, it's going to take them to 2 different locations. So as the homeowner, let's see, get up here. It's going to bring you to a splash page or a dashboard. On this dashboard, we're going to be able to see basic information about the site. You're going to see that the system is on and normal and operating properly. You're going to see how much power has been produced today, how much power has been produced in a lifetime of the system from the day that it was installed, and then the CO2 benefits. As you can see right here, basically gives the homeowner a basic view of the system when it turned on from this morning at 6 a.m. to current time right now. This happens to be one of our test sites located in San Diego, California. So quite nice production here today. The other thing I want to point out too is it actually goes back and shows the customer, the homeowner, the daily production for the last 7 days. So you actually go back in time. You can just kind of make some comparisons. You can say, oh yeah, it did rain on Wednesday. That's right, it wasn't that good. But just basic information. And below here, I really like this as well. This actually gives you a monthly energy in the current year. So this particular pie graph continues to grow throughout the year as the months go by. So right now we're just into April. So you can see the total production for January is hover over it. Total production for February, total production for March, and partial production just for April. And you can see all that information right here available to the homeowner. Very simple. We give the ability to put information here in regards to a site picture, and then down below here, looks for example for an installer to put a business card or any kind of logo information. Let's dig in a little deeper. So under the module tab, this is what we also provide to customers as well. So we can provide the homeowner the ability to see module level monitoring for the entire site. What I love about this is it gives you the ability to go back in time as well. So I can click on this bar down below, and I can slide this bar back and forth, and I can see the production starting in the morning throughout the day. Now, mind you, this is, like I said, it's one of our test sites, heavily shaded, parapet walls, palm trees, wires, power poles, everything you could possibly imagine on this site is there. But this just gives you an indication as far as seeing the sun track across this array throughout the day. Another nice thing is I can go back and look at production from a previous day. Let's say I want to go look at Earth Day 2020. What did it look like? I look at my bell curve. I can look at production throughout the entire day. What's also nice about it, let's say I wanted to go back to Earth Day 2019. So the 22nd. Let's see what the production was back then. And here's the exact same day 1 year ago. One thing that APsystems doesn't do, and I'll demonstrate here, is under the report tab. If you look at the report tab, we do not truncate any of the information. This site was installed back in March of 2015. And you can see here all the data from 2015 all the way to present. Every single month, all the data is present here. So here are the real numbers. Just above it is a graphical representation of these numbers. And what's nice about this, you can actually see the tracking throughout the years. What I can do is, like 2015 wasn't a complete year, so I'm going to turn that off. I can click this button right here and turn 2015 on. 2020 just started. We only have 4 months of data here. I'm just going to get that out. It's a distraction. So turn that off. So now you can see all the production throughout the years. So I got 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019 all layered on the same exact graph right here. Come up here a little bit more. I'm actually able to look at the data here again. Total for the year, year, and then also downloadable. Every one of these, you see these tabs right here, all are able to download the data from the site to an Excel spreadsheet, to a PowerPoint, whatever the customer wants. We tried to make this as simple as easy as possible to provide as much information so installers aren't getting calls about what is my system doing today, how does it look compared to last year. All that information is displayed and put here for them to see. This gives us an idea as far as the power production in a day, hourly energy in a day. People can see more detail as to how much power they're making per day or per hour. Daily energy in period, so I can compare days, go back in time, back to 325 here. Monthly energy in year, how much power have I made this year? Or yearly energy in a lifetime. So really clean, really slick, and really fast. And like I said, one thing I definitely am really proud of is we do not truncate any of the data. The data is currently available. It's there. You can grab it at any time, and you can go back and see that data from any time you want. So if I wanted to go back to January 1st, 2018, there it is. It happens that fast. So a really slick system. In conjunction with this particular version, we also have a mobile phone application called the EMA app, which displays the exact same information that you're seeing here on this line. Okay, I'm going to sign out now, and I'm going to walk into the installer account so you can see what the installer sees for the same exact account. So installer would go to the login page and go to, this is basically their fleet view. Again, this is one of our test sites. So if this customer had more sites, it would see a fleet view. You'd see the entire list of their sites that they've installed. You would see line after line after line after line after line. of all the different sites that they have installed. So you can see here the customer account, just a reference name, the ECU ID. This is basically the serial number of that site. This is the most important number whenever you're calling in for technical support. That number right there drives everything. This is who owns it. This is where it's located. System size, we have an idea as far as size is concerned, when it was installed, and most importantly, the system status button right here. We have this coming, it comes in 4 different colors. It's the traffic lights. Basically, it's the green is good. Yellow, there's an issue, but not an emergency. And then the red is obviously a problem. It's an issue. It could be an internet connection. It could be a failed inverter. It could be some kind of communication problem. It could be a plethora of things. But nonetheless, we give you a visual indicator of site status and site health through this light system. I mentioned a 4th light. So we actually have a 4th light, which is a gray or like a black dot. This 4th dot is actually used for sites where, for example, let's say you're installing this product somewhere where there's no internet connection whatsoever. Customer has no interest, doesn't want internet. This gives you, the installer, the ability to select that gray dot, indicating to you to ignore it. When you look at this at your long list of installations and you see your red dots, you immediately think bad, and you want to go take a look, and you go, oh, that's right, Mrs. Smith doesn't have internet. We give you the ability to turn off that red light and put a black dot, so you can scan your system every day and say, oh, nope, everything's good. And I know Mrs. Smith doesn't have internet, so I won't have a red dot there. So let's dig in a little bit. So as you can see right here, it gives a very similar look. So the installer then can see daily production throughout the day, from the startup at 6 a.m. to present. That's all currently available to the installer. What's also available to the installer here is the module view. And you're going to say that looks very similar. That looks very similar, and it is, because we want to be able to, compare apples to apples. If a homeowner calls an installer, they want to be able to see the same thing, talk about the same thing, make sure that's displayed very similarly. Again, they can go back in time, they can see module performance, they can see all this stuff. What the additional piece of information that the installer does get is information about that module. So now what I can do is I can find out the serial number of that device. I can find out the panel size, panel type, manufacturer, size, the power rating, and most importantly, right here is the detail section. The homeowner does not get access to this, only the installer does. So by clicking on the detail, I'm actually able to dig into this module and actually I can see this serial number. I can look at any serial number on that roof individually. So I'm going to pick a serial number at random, this one right here. Now over here, I can look at the A side of the DC, so that one panel there, or I can look at the B side and see the performance of that particular device. What's nice about this is I can come down here and I can see voltage of the panel at any given time. I can see the power that it's being produced, and I can see the current coming off that module. All that is recorded every 5 minutes for this site. I can look at the A channel and see the same information on the DC side every 5 minutes. I can also come over here and look at the AC side. What's nice about this gives I like to call this truck roll prevention. You are able to see what's going on that site from your mobile phone in the truck, from your back at your office. All this information is readily available at your fingertips to be able to make decisions on what is going on with the site. Because you can see here, 237, 240, 241. You also see the frequency. You see that right here, the green is the frequency. If there's any kind of frequency out of whack, you'll be able to see it here. And then temperature of the site. As the day increases, as the sun comes up, it gets warmer, you can see that the temperature goes up. If there's any kind of temperature related issues, you'll be able to see that here as well, all demonstrated. What I also like about this feature is this button right here called compare. So right now I'm looking at one serial number, I'm looking at one channel, I'm looking at the B channel. But here I can click on this to on. Now I can compare DC to DC. So now I'm looking at inverter ending in 1.6 for both, and I'm looking at channel A and channel B. And all I really want to look at is the power. What are we actually producing? So let's take a look at that. I'm going to turn off the voltage on both. A and B. I'm going to turn off the current on A and B. And now I'm looking at exactly what I want to see. These two modules are adjacent to each other. Of course, you know, different orientations, shading, whatever, but at the same time, they're tracking pretty well. So this is another good troubleshooting tool, being able to compare. What's also interesting, I can compare any other inverter on that route. So I can compare channel A to channel A of a different inverter, or channel B, doesn't matter. All of which can be exported out to an Excel spreadsheet. Let's move on. As far as history is concerned, this section right here, history, gives you, the installer, the ability. If there's any exchanges, any kind of issues on the site, if you need to make any changes whatsoever, you can come in here. You'll be able to see that the gateway number 123 was replaced with gateway 456. It keeps a formal record of all the information that was ever on the site. Same thing with the inverter history. Remote control. Here you're under looking. You can look at the next one. Grid profile here. This is where you can actually go in and change time zone configurations. You can actually link inverters to make sure that they're married together from the ECU to the EMA online portal. And most importantly, grid profile. If there's any kind of issues, like I said before, it's a lot easier, faster to do it right there on site with the ECU app. But you can also do it right here online and send this information around to the device. As far as setup is concerned, really basic. Very easy, very streamlined. Again, you're going to be able to put information about the site, create the username, who it is, where they are located, the name of the place, information about the site. You can actually send weekly reports to the customer or not. You can allow customers to visit the site. You can basically create a kiosk view, if you will. Over here, this is where you can change. A customer calls and said, "I forgot my password." You can log in here, click submit. It's going to send the customer an email to the email that's on file over here. They're going to be able to log in and change their password. Let's say, for example, T. Nelson doesn't own the house anymore. They sold it to, you know, M. Smith. This is where you can actually go in and type in a new username. Type in username, confirm username, submit, and the email will be sent to the new user. So if anything happens, anybody changes, house sales, you're done. We talked about this a little bit earlier as well, as far as edit partners. This right here is some of our capital partners. This is where you can actually select a partner and then hit submit. If I hit this and hit dividend, it's going to send an email to dividend telling them that they have a new site on their radar. They have access to the site, but they have no ability to control anything. So you don't have to provide them with usernames or passwords. ECU configuration. This is where we would add another ECU. Let's say I wanted to add a different ECU, another ECU. I wanted to edit, I wanted to replace. This is where else would happen. Inverter configuration. This is where I would actually be able to link or add. Let's say I wanted to add more to the site. I can actually go in here and add. It's going to bring up this thing, and they're going to be able to scan, suck in, or type in this new serial numbers that I've just added to the site. I won't do that here. I don't want to screw this up, but this is exactly where it'll happen. Linking and adding is all under the inverter configuration tab. View configuration is where you do the mapping. So right here, we have this ECU. We know where it's located on the garage. We know the angle, the number of inverters. So I'm going to go over here to edit. And I'm going to go to the detailed view. I'm going to submit this. So under the detailed view, now I'm able to see all the modules that are on the roof in the orientation that they're sitting. If there was any modules that weren't mapped properly or mapped at all, you would take them from here and drag them over to the canvas. From the canvas, from here, I can actually take this and move this anywhere I'd like. Let's say this is the way it really looks on the roof. I come over here, I click save, and the orientation is saved. But let's say, for example, these are different orientation. These are a portrait. I can come over here and say portrait, change orientation. So I can move things around portrait to landscape. I can move them to different locations on the grid, wherever I want them to be. And I can move them back to where they were. Just that simple. I hit save, and everything's done. The last thing in the installation drawing section, this is a section that I really like as well. APsystems gives you the ability to upload drawings, upload pictures, upload any kind of mapping, anything that you have for this job site, you can actually put up here, save it in the cloud. So if you ever need to reference this documents again, you don't looking for Mrs. Smith's file in your file cabinet. It's all here online that you can actually access. So for example, the site picture, I can go over here and I can say view. Here's the site picture of this. As you can see, all the palm trees, the parapet walls, all the shading that we've got on this particular site. But it's nice, it's just a good visual indicator for you, the installer, to be able to see, just a reminder of the site that you installed. And this site was installed 5 years ago. One-line diagrams. The installer saved this information up here. This information is saved, so you can see site plan, how it's set up, where it's set up, orientation. All this information is all available here in this portal. And then they're here. This is another drawing with PV watts calculations. So again, there's no limit to what you can store up here. If you want to put up the permit information, you want to put up the original quote, whatever you want to save for future reference, it's here. You do not need to keep your paper copy anymore. This is all available here and available to any one of your installers at any time. Okay, Jason. Jason?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, sorry. I was just talking with the mute button on. So you want to move on to the ECU drawing?
Yeah, let me pull that up right now.
Perfect. All right, we're going to give away some ECUs here, and then we'll get to your questions. Awesome. So let's see, let me pull up. So I used a random number generator here to select our winners, and our first winner is Jason Carney with Energy Electives out of Nashville, Tennessee. Congratulations, Jason. I'm going to be sending each of the winners an email about their ECUR, and you simply need to reply to that email with your mailing address, and we'll make sure that we get that device out to you. The second winner is Garrett Bolden with Penn Tech Inc. out of Blue Springs, Missouri. Congratulations, Garrett. And then our last winner of the day is Hunter Haas with KC Solar out of Overland Park, Kansas. So congrats to our 3 winners. And we're going to get to some of your questions now. Chris, do you see the questions on your end?
I do.
Okay.
One question coming in. So where can I get a webinar recording? Yeah,
so after this webinar, we're going to be sending an email out to everyone with a link where you can view that on our YouTube channel, as well as a PDF copy of the PowerPoint. That way you don't have to do any screenshots or anything. It's already there for you.
Another question coming in. What is the frequency for the Zigbee communication? That is 2.4 gigahertz communication. Very similar to Wi-Fi. Another question coming in asking about where to buy this product.
Oh, so one way that you can look for our distributors that are selling the product is to go to the APsystems website and then navigate to the How to Order page. And under that page, you can actually just plug in your zip code, and it'll tell you all the distribution locations that are closest to you.
Another question coming in asking about power configuration for our products. So let's go into a little more detail. We covered that quite heavily on Tuesday, but it's a good question. So as far as the QS1 and 600, that can be used in a 240 volt split phase system, a 240 volt delta, 240 volt delta high leg, and also a 208Y. For the 1000, the YC1000, it actually is a 208Y or a 480Y. Good question.
Chris, one of the questions I got on my end is what is the maximum distance that the ECU can be from the microinverters?
Great question. Again, this is very similar to Wi-Fi. So the maximum line of sight distance is 300 feet. Of course, any kind of obstruction would diminish that, but at 300 feet is the maximum length per IEEE. I have a question here coming in asking about how many QS1s can I put on a branch circuit? That's actually 3. The trunk cable used for the QS1 and the 600, for that matter, are 12 gauge wire. So 12 gauge has to land on a 20 amp breaker. On a 20 amp breaker, NEC requires that it can only be loaded to 80% of capacitance of the trip breaker. So that means 16 amps is the maximum I can put on. Each of the QS1s put out 5 amps each. So 5 times 3 is 15, so just under the 16. In regards to the 600, puts out 2.28 amps per inverter. So we're a maximum of 7 units, 7 inverters per branch circuit. I'm just going to add in here as well. So I did mention that you can mix and match the QS1s and the 600s. That's all one good. The only thing to consider is the maximum current output. So the 5 and the 2.28, as long as any combination of those is under 16, you're good to go.
So a question on my end is it possible to have multiple EMA login accounts for a single installer / solar company? For example, if you have multiple crews that need to access the EMA, the way most of our installers take care of that is they all use the same login. That way, any of the installers can see all of the installations under your business. Another way you can do that is you can have some of our installers just have one individual who is responsible for managing and monitoring the EMA accounts, the homeowner accounts. So if you like to have multiple people using, have the capability of setting up those accounts, and typically they just use the same login.
And actually, I'm going to add to that, Jason. So that's absolutely 100% correct. I want to add is with the ECU-R and the ECU app, that gives the ability for the installers in the field to access all this information for that particular site without access to your corporate EMA login. They can do all their work on site with those two pieces, with the ECU-R operating and running, with the ECU app on their phones. All they need is that 8/8. They have access to that one site while they're on site. But they do not have access to your entire fleet. Like Jason said, that's probably better managed by someone back in your office. I have a question coming in asking about cellular connectivity. This is actually an area that APsystems is exploring. We actually anticipate something out here probably the end of this year, if not before that. I think we were planning earlier, but unfortunately, based on the COVID-19 pandemic, I think that's been pushed out just a bit. But stay tuned. That is coming.
Yeah, it's moved far enough along. We have beta test sites right now, but yeah, we're still working through that process. So yeah, I think as Chris said, we look to have that wrapped up by the end of the year. We got a question about, is there a way to cut off an employee's access if they no longer work for the installer firm? I assume that you're talking about EMA access. And yeah, the simple ways, just simply change the password on your account.
Yep.
Another question, will we do a troubleshooting example course in the future? And that's actually a great idea. That's something that we haven't explored yet, is doing a deep dive on all the troubleshooting tools that that Chris covered. And I think that's a great idea. That's something that we can look to schedule for sometime in May.
Yeah, I'd love to put that together. That's actually great. Like I said, I joke, but I'm 100% serious. The EMA, or the online portal, is truly a truck roll prevention tool. As I said, when you get a phone call or an issue or you think about something, I want you to go to the EMA. I want you to see the power that's there. And like I said, if you do have to roll a truck, you're going to be armed with information. You're going to be able to focus in on a certain area of that array, and not just kind of hunt and peck until you figure it out. There's a lot of information that can be seen from the EMA remotely without even getting in a vehicle.
There's another question, Chris, and we'll do this one. We're running way past time, so we'll just do this last question and then wrap it up. If the ECU-R is off, and will the QS1 that is typically sending data to that ECU-R, is it going to store that locally on the QS1 until the ECU-R is turned back on?
So that's a good question, a great question, actually. So no, the answer is, if there's no power to the ECU-R, there is no record of that information, because the ECU-R needs to be powered to be able to go out and inquire to the inverters, basically ask the status. They need to go out and say, what is your status, every 5 minutes. If the ECU-R is not powered, that will never happen. If it loses internet connection and the ECU-R is still powered, we will hold that data. So that's the key piece right there. No power to the device, no questions asked. Power to the device, but no internet, questions asked, and that information being held and waiting for the internet to be reapplied to push that data back to the cloud.
Excellent. Well, thank you, everyone. We appreciate your participation in the webinar today, and we'll send you a follow-up email with the materials we mentioned. And yeah, good luck out there. We hope to see you on our webinars next week. And thanks again for attending. Take care.